All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Michael Williams. I'm one of the public information officers with the Southern Area Complex Incident Management Team. And again, we appreciate you taking time out of your evening to join us at this open house. So I wanted to cover a couple of quick things before we get started. As you can see, we've got the room set up a little bit differently than we would a traditional community meeting. And the reason for that is a lot of the times when we do these meetings, we tend to get up here, we do a lot of speaking, we do a lot of presentations, but it doesn't always lend itself to being very conversational. And so we're hoping to change that tonight. So we're going to have a couple of people come up and speak to you real briefly. And when that's done, we're going to break out. We've got 7 sections set out. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that here in a second. And it's going to be a chance for you to meet one-on-one in small groups and have some more interactions, more of an intimate setting. And we'll hope that will be a nice change of pace from the traditional community meeting. So looking forward to getting that going here in a second. With all that, we're going to start with our first speaker here. We're going to have Operations Section Chief for the Southern Area Blue Team, Kerry Clark, come up here. So here you go, Kerry. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. So they asked me to just come give y'all a quick, brief update. And like you said, if y'all got any specific questions, after we get done, y'all feel free to come up here. I think I'm going to be here at the front of the room. So we'll just start down here on the hill of the fire, Division Alpha Delta. You can see we've got black lines on there. That means we're showing containment there. There's not a big concern anymore. Those are in patrol status. So not finding a whole lot of heat there close to the lines anymore. Okay. Moving up in here to hotel, this was really important to us when we got here, looking at these terrain features and how steep this drainage is, and the lack of points to cut this thing off if it went any farther. So we've really focused a lot of efforts here trying to make sure this stays in place. We got an additional hot shot crew yesterday, and that's where we inserted them. They spent most of the day reinforcing that line and making sure it's really looking good. Moving on into Kilo, so the burnout operations were completed about 2 shifts ago. We had multiple spots during that, and yesterday's shift did not find any new spots. Today, we did find one spot in a punky log across the line up on the slope. Luckily, they found it smoking, not actively burning. They caught it in time before it got up and going. So by no means is, this thing over. There's stuff out there like that that's sleeping that they're staying vigilant and looking for. So luckily we caught that today. But up here on Kilo, this is a water show right now. We're about 90% plumbed on all of our dozer lines up there. So the crews can get water in there and mop up these control lines. So that's the focus on Kilo. Getting a lot of water tenders, hauling water, pumping water out of the creeks, and soaking those perimeter lines, making sure this thing's going to stay where it's at. Moving over into Mike, the biggest concern over here in Mike, we're still picking up miscellaneous heats along the line here, so we hadn't been able to contain any of it yet. Yesterday, over here around the Oscar Mike break, there's some really steep ground over there, and we had some unburned pockets within our fire line. One of those pockets got up and started burning a little bit yesterday, so we helped it out and tied it back into some coal black. There's 2 contingency lines below that. We don't want to burn those contingency lines out because, like I said, it's really steep ground, and that presents more problems of rollout and opportunities for the fire to come out. So after this shot crew got over here yesterday and did a good job, we moved them over here today. So they're focusing on this section over here. We want to make sure that town of Halfway is protected, and we don't have any more active fire, coming out over there outside our containment lines. So that's really the main concern there in Mike. Down in Oscar is looking really good. We showed containment on the south end of Oscar yesterday's end of shift, and these guys are focusing up here on the north end of Oscar and even working into Mike, helping those guys out because they might run out of work to do down here in Oscar, which is a good thing. So biggest focus over here is there around that Oscar Mike break. So with that, that's kind of current situation there on the fire.
Thanks, Kerry. And Kerry will be around to answer some questions here when we get to the breakout section. So our next speaker, I'd like to call up Ashley McClay, who is the Public Information Officer for the Baker County Sheriff's Office.
So I'll talk a little bit about our evacuation situation, where we're at currently, how we got there. So the sheriff's office follows the statewide be ready, be set, go now system. So we have a level 1, a 2, and a 3. And you'll see on our map over there, level 1 is green, level 2, the be set is yellow, and then level 3, go now, is red. Sheriff Ash mentioned at the halfway meeting earlier this week, he's been pretty aggressive about setting these levels. His ultimate goal is to protect life and property, with life being our number 1 priority. So he wants to make sure folks have enough time to get out, and that, you know, when we say that fire's there, you're already set and ready to go. Things are looking really good. If you check that out, yesterday we had good news. We were able to reduce some of the levels, most notably around that west wall and halfway. We reduced a lot of that to a level 2. So our goal is that with the more containment we're seeing, we're going to have some reductions in those levels. So as of right now, things are looking pretty good, and we hope to continue to see those reduce.
Thank you, Ashley. Next, we'd like to get Incident Commander John Wallace to come up here and speak for a second.
Hey, thanks. Good afternoon. I just wanted to say thank you. The Southern Area Blue team has been here for a few days. We've interfaced really closely with Steve Bregman's department of Office of the Fire Marshal from Oregon. Their blue team, they did an amazing job protecting their structures here. And this morning, a lot of their folks went home. Steve's going to talk about that in a second. But the job they did was really amazing. Our job now as the Southern Area Blue team is to manage the wildlands. Kerry came up and talked about lines that our hotshot crews are putting in over the next few days. We're going to do that and try to get you back to a level of normalcy. We want to carry the smoke with us. Unfortunately, I think the smoke is probably going to stick around for a while. We've got a lot of fire season left in Oregon. But thank you for all of your patience, all your hospitality. Thank you for everything.
Thanks, John. And then to close us out, we'd like to get Steve Bregman up here, who's the Incident Commander for the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Blue Team.
Thank you very much. There's a saying that we have in incident management, and that saying is that all incidents start locally and end locally. And what that means is that some type of event occurs, in this case a fire. With us, we're an all hazards team, so it could be a flood, it could be something else, but in this case it's a fire. The fire departments respond, and so in this case, both Pine Valley and Eagle Valley. But at some point, they kind of hit their capacity for what they can do. And so they're able to reach out through the Oregon State Fire Marshal's mutual aid system, or OFMAS. And that is headed up by the State Fire Marshal, Chief Ruiz Temple, and under her direction, we can then surge resources from across the state, from structure fire departments, to come and help the local fire departments protect structures. And so that's what we did in this instance. We went into a delegation of authority with both Chiefs Robinette and Chief Kingsbury. We also did it for some areas that weren't protected by the Rural Fire Protection District within Baker County with Commissioner Alderson. And so that allows us to come in and start doing the work that we do to protect the structures. So that's where it starts at that level. But like I said, it started locally. We had to bring in some state resources to help out. And now we're at the point where the structures are in good shape in terms of the threats that are being looked at on them, to the point where we've been able to turn it back over to the locals. And so now, as you heard, the team has demobilized today and is headed back, and we're here to just answer any questions that you may all have. And I think with that, I'll leave it brief, and we'll catch up. Anybody has any additional questions, we'll catch it in the breakouts.
All right, thank you. And again, thank you to all the people that spoke. I know we're moving kind of fast and furious, but is there anybody else? We've got a lot of people in the room that wanted to say anything before we break out. All right, so one thing I just wanted to put in a plug also, we're always trying to keep people updated on information as much as possible. If you did not, please sign up, put your name, phone number, email address. We'd love to keep in contact with you about the most current fire information if you can, please.